my name is Kaluna Spitfire and I'm a variety streamer on Twitch. I like to play a lot of games, but 7 Days to Die is one of my favorites. And when I realized that Wizebot had an integration for it, I was really excited. But I was a little disappointed that there were no YouTube videos showing us how to set it up, and all of the written documentation was a little bit technical. So after figuring it out myself, I decided to help share this knowledge with others in a visual format so that you could hopefully have more success in setting it up your first time than I did. I hope you find it helpful in setting up your 7 Days to Die Wizebot integration for your own stream, and that you and your chat have a lot of fun using it. If you're ready to set up the Wizebot integration for 7 Days to Die, the first thing you're going to want to do is go to Wizebot and go to log into your account. Then scroll down to Games under the Advanced Integration and click 7 Days to Die. You'll come up to this integration page and you're going to click Documentation. Chances are, before you found this video, you've probably taken a look at this and it doesn't have a lot of information, and it can be a little bit difficult to figure out, and that's why I'm making this video. The first thing you're going to want to do is to get the mod set up. So go ahead on here and click the CSMM Patrons mod and go ahead and download it. It's going to be right here for you. I've already done so. When you open it up, it's going to be right here at the very top. The zip file is the one that you're going to want. When you're done downloading that, scroll down and you're also going to want to open up the Alex server fixes and download the latest build right here. I've also done that one. When you're all set with those, you're going to want to go to your server. I highly recommend using an outside server for this integration, and the reason for that is you're going to be spawning a lot of outside zombies that don't naturally spawn in the game, and the game's not set up to handle that on a normal computer. An outside server is ideal for this, not a server set up on your computer, because most computers can't handle the amount of stress that spawning this number of zombies is going to cause. An outside server can generally do it. I highly recommend using Server Blend. They are my favorite, but I have also used Nitrado and it did fine. There are other server companies out there that you can totally use and they should be absolutely fine. The one thing you have to look for is you need to be able to edit the files, or the server company needs to be able to add the mod for you. I particularly like Server Blend because it has a mod manager already in here where you can go and you can find the mod you're looking for and install it at the click of a button. If there's a mod that you're looking for that is not currently on here, if you email them, they will add it for you within a day or two. The mods you're looking for in Server Blend, you would just add the Alex mode right here and the CSMM Patrons mod right here. Done. You don't even have to download. However, if you have another server that does not have a handy dandy mod installed at the click of a button, you'll go into the File Explorer. And you're going to go into your mods folder. If you have never added a mod to this server before, you're going to need to create a new folder by clicking the button and calling it Mods. I already have one, so I'm going to open it up. Now I have several mods on this server, including the Patrons mod and the Alex mods. When you've downloaded your Patrons mod and your Alex mod, they're actually not as hard as they look to install. And the way that you do it is when you open it up, it's going to look just like this. And what you want is for your folder in the mod folder to be absolutely identical. Every letter, every number, every underscore should be identical. So in this folder, as you can see under my mods, it looks identical to the one that is in my downloads folder. It says 1CSMM_patrons. That's what you want. if I double click into here, I have two folders. One is called config and one is called cpmcc, and then I have a couple other files. I want that to look identical in this folder, and it should. So if I go in here, as you can see, it has a config folder and cpmcc folder, and you would just be adding a new folder for each of these things. And then for these other files, I click upload, and I upload and copy the files. Then for each of these folders, I go in. So the config should just have buffs uploaded, and it does. So you just upload that buffs folder. The cpmcc has three other folders inside them right here, and they do, and those match. And that is what you want it to look like. And you want the other files to also go in there as well. And each of these files has the appropriate files that match each of these. And you want to do that for every single file and every single folder in the download. So you want it to match completely perfectly to what your download looked like when you opened it. And once you do that for the patrons mod, you're going to go ahead and do that for the server fixes mods as well. And once those are all installed onto your mod folders, you are then going to restart your server. That's an important thing to remember. If you don't restart the server, they will not apply properly, and none of your spawns will work until you restart the server. So make sure you restart your server. Once you have set up your mods, the next step is you're going to open up your Wizebot integration through the Wizebot app itself. And you are going to need to pay for the premium version of Wizebot. When you do this, it's €5 a month, so whatever the equivalency is in your currency. And you just go ahead and you pay for that, and then you can work on this. And this will all pop up, and you can put in all the information you want. Put in the documentation of your server, your telnet port, not your port, your telnet port, and then your password for your telnet port. And when you do so, go ahead and test your connection. If it's all set up properly and your server is set to be on, make sure it's on before you do this test, it should pop up just like this. I will show you how to do these later. Once you are in there, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to start setting up your virtual currency. Now, you could have all your spawns cost bits, but that might leave out some of your chat who are not financially able to participate like that. And you still want those people, because having people engaged in chat and having people come and participate and talk to you is also valuable as a streamer. So I highly recommend having commands that people can use without using bits. And the way that you go ahead and set up your currency to allow people to spend virtual currency that they earn just by being a viewer, just by showing up and talking and being a part of your community, is in here as well. So the way that you do that is you go into interactions on the Wizebot, and then you're going to go to virtual currency configuration. Now you can call your currency anything you want. My channel has a dragon as its symbol, so a gold horde makes the most sense for my channel. So I put it as gold. You can call it whatever you want. Dollars, euros, cents, pennies, whatever. You can also change out this picture for whatever you want to show up in the chat itself, and just add it there. You can put your own image, whatever you like. Then this is the initial amount that people are going to get the very first time that they have a new account. So the first time they stop by your channel, the first time they see you, things like that. I highly recommend turning on the active part of moderators commands. What that does is it allows you to have commands to add, remove, and overall moderate the money that is being given to chat, taken from chat. So you can have it set up where mods can give and take currency from your chat from different individual users. If a spawn doesn't go through, you might want a mod to give them back their money. If a certain event occurs, if you're having a special event, you might want to give currency. I know in my chat, the first several people in, I give currency to. You could give after the first 10 minutes, just for coming in early, you could give everybody in chat some currency. Whatever you like to do, you can do that by setting up moderator commands and just turning this on to being active. Overall, these are the basic commands you're going to have. If you would like your viewers to be able to give each other currency, you turn this on to active. If you don't want them to be able to do that, turn it right off. I highly recommend turning it on because there are some people who are lurkers in your channel who are pretty active, but they don't necessarily want to spend all of their gold all the time, or whatever your currency is called, to spawn things. And that's okay. By allowing them to give some of their currency to other people, they're encouraging new viewers who are excited about it to participate as well. So I like to have the give option, and I will show you what those commands look like later. You can assign a fee, so like a percentage of that amount that they're giving, to be taken away as a fee, as a management fee. That's usually if it becomes a little bit overwhelming and your chat is doing it a lot and abusing it, you might want to set that up. You also might want to set up a minimum. My chat is not that huge at the moment, so it's not a big deal. This is not spamming my chat. If you have people who spam it, you may want to set this up to be a minimum of 500 or 1,000 or whatever makes sense in your currency. You can set up decimals or not. I set it up, but it really doesn't matter. The other one that you can turn on is exclamation account, and this will allow your chat to type exclamation account or exclamation whatever the name of your currency is. So my chat can do exclamation gold because that's the name of my currency, or exclamation account. Both commands work, and they type that into chat and it will tell them how much currency they currently have. This is really good for them to know how much they have to spend. Now in this, you can turn on how frequently. I don't want people to be spamming this all day, so I do have a cooldown on that for 20 seconds for each person to be able to do it between each other's. You can turn that down to nothing. You can verification by pseudo. That's just allowing other people to check other people. So if you want your mods to be able to check how much somebody has in their account, you can turn this on. If you would like it to be a public message, that means it shows up to everybody. If you do private message, it only shows up to the person who types it. So it depends on how much chat spam you want to have, how big of a streamer you are. You might want to adjust some of these pieces. Okay, now that we have seen this, I will show you what it looks like to type these into chat. So if you go to Twitch, and this is my Twitch, and you go to chat, you can test this out. I'm hosting somebody, so I'm just going to move it down so it's not as distracting. And over here in the chat, this is where your moderators can type it in, but also where you can type it in as a moderator of your own channel. And the way that you would give, so this is for mods or you, depending on if you have that button on, is exclamation C, add, and you would type in the person's name. So type in my own name and I can give 100, like so. Okay. You also have the ability to remove. So if for some reason it didn't work properly, or somebody's misusing it, or it didn't pull it out properly, or whatever reason happens, your mods can also remove currency from people. Like so. It's exclamation C, space remove, space the name, and then 100. It also works if you use the @ symbol for whoever's name it is. So if I did, that will also work. Okay, that's a little bit faster for mods to do. It doesn't take very long. The other one that people can do is add all. And if you do add all, it will give 100 in this case, or 1,000, whatever you want, that much gold to everyone who is an active user on your channel at that moment. Okay, but because you must be live, I'm not currently live, so you can't add all, but if I was currently live, this would work. Okay, then you can also do the give mode. Now this give one is the one that I was showing you earlier if you have it enabled. And this is one that anyone can use to give from their own money to someone else. And you would do exclamation give, and you would name another chatter. I will name one of my mods. And so you would do exclamation give, the person's name, and the amount. And as you can see, I gave that much to her. And that is how you use those commands. Now, the other thing you can use is over here. This is probably the most important part of virtual currency, and it is how people earn currency. And so this depends on how you want people to earn it. So I turn on automatic allocation, and I've chosen every 10 minutes. You can choose whatever length of time you want people to be watching. I do 10 minutes. That's about what channel points are like. Just trying to keep an active person. Do you want to include AFKs or not? If this is active, it will get rid of people who are AFK, who haven't been active on their computer for a little while. You can turn it off and give it to them anyway. It's totally up to you. For a normal viewer who is not a follower, I do 25. You can of course change these amounts to anything that makes sense for your channel, however much makes sense for your commands. For followers, I do 50. So you can change these. For VIPs, I do a different amount. For moderators, I do a different amount. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 subs. You can make that all the same amount if you want to. It's totally up to you. I turned off notifications in chat, and the reason for this is I would get a lot of spam in chat if I had this on, and people have the ability to check their own accounts by just going and doing gold or exclamation account, same thing. In my case, it's gold, whatever your channel currency name is, and you can see how much currency you have. So I don't turn this on because I don't need people spamming. I don't need it automatically spamming my chat. If you were to turn this on, you may want to specify exactly what your notification looks like and says. Next part is allocation by activity. So do you want to exclude people who are non-followers? So if you have this on, non-followers won't get anything, right? By new message. So you could give people currency the more they chat. So if you want to reward people who are chatting more in your stream, you can do that. If you want to not give people money for just chatting, you want to include all lurkers and everything too, then just leave it inactive and don't put anything in here. So it depends on how you want to do it. Allocation by events. Now this is the one that's probably the most important. When somebody follows, they get this amount of currency. Same with a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 sub or resub. I have mine set the same, but you could totally make these different to encourage people to resub for longer periods of time. These are when you gift subs. So if somebody gifts subs, I have mine set higher because I want to reward people for gifting subs to my channel. And that's a great way for people to give to you as a streamer, so you want to reward that. If somebody renews their gift sub, if they sub the renewal for the gifter again, I actually probably should change that to 2,000 since it's a gift one. Here we go. Hosts and raids. So if somebody hosts you or raids you, you can give them this much currency automatically. Standard donation. So if there's a donation made on your page, then this is how much per euro that they will get. and then, or whatever the equivalency is. I'm in the US, so US dollars is slightly different, but you can do that calculation of whatever currency you have to euros. And then this is the number by bits. So per bit, this is how much gold they will get per bit. And you can set those things up based on what makes sense for your channel. Once you set up virtual currency, you're ready to start setting up your spawns, your gifts, your commands that you want chat to be able to use. And there are three main types of commands that you can do. You can do buffs or debuffs, gifts that go into your inventory, or spawns. You can also spawn crates, and that's a little different, but those are the three main categories that you're probably going to want on your channel. So I'm going to go through all three types and how you set up all the details for each of them. And so I have an example of each one. You would click New Command. I'm going to go in and show you. So in here is where you would name your command whatever you want people to write in chat. So example spawn is my name, but this one's a bear, so you might want to do exclamation bear. Maybe, or whatever you think is funny, whatever your chat likes to call it. It's totally fine. Then you want to hit enter. You will see a green thing pop up. That means it's been saved properly. Now the first part, you're going to have this $sign with your display name, underscore display name. That's just going to be the person's name who did it in chat, and then whatever you want it to say. So I have it say, has spawned a bear on Kaluna. Now this next part is the command itself. $7DTD underscore CMD means a 7 days to die command. So that is the command that is going to be sent to 7 days to die. Everything inside these parentheses is the command that would be spawned in DM mode. If this command works in DM mode, it will work as a chat command if you just put it in like this. Spawns always start with MES and then space and then the number of the person or the name of the person. Now 171 is most people's number if you are the main person of that game. So because I own all my servers and my games, this is the number most people have. You can put your name here as well, and it will work. However, you want this to match whatever your Steam name is. So if you have a .ttv, you need to have that in there. If you change it often, you may want to make sure that you use 171. It should still work for you if you are the main person on your server. The next part is a number, and that number is how many blocks it can spawn in away from you, in the radius around you. And I highly recommend doing something like 20 because that's a reasonable distance for it to find a space to land. Otherwise, if you're in a tight spot, like a house, it won't always be able to spawn right where you are. If you're inside a closet, a bear can't spawn in the closet properly and it will bug out. By giving it 20, it is most likely going to find a decent place to spawn near you. And then you're going to have a space, then an @ symbol, and then the number code of whatever the animal or the zombie is. In this case, a bear is 90. If I wanted to have 5 bears, you would do 90, 90, 90, 90, 90. 5 different 90s. And that would make 5 bears up here. I don't want that, but to each their own. So you can set that up. If you want 5 bikers, if you want 5 whatever, chickens, you can set that up. The other kind of spawns that you might have are gifts that go into your inventory. In this case, I have an example of 7.62 ammo. And this part is the same as the spawns. You just call it whatever you want here in chat. And the 7 days to die command part stays the same. The part that changes is the command itself. And the command for giving something into your inventory directly, you do not want it landing on the ground. So you're not going to do a give self command because it will land on the ground. You're going to be too busy to pick things up, I promise you. You're going to want to do the cpm-give plus command. Space, I do 171, but it could be your name, again, and the code for whatever that item is. In this case, it's the 762 ammo, space, the number you would like to have given to you. And that's it. Now, the last kind of code that you might want is a buff. So you might want a buff or a debuff. So buff would be something like healing you, or a candy being eaten. You don't have to eat it. You could give yourself the gift of a candy, or you can have the buff of a candy automatically applied to you. You can do it either way. Or you could have a debuff like a broken leg. Now you would go in here, and again, these parts stay the same. You call it whatever you want in chat, and then the command part stays the same. The part that changes is buff player. And then you're going to put your number, and then whatever the name is of that buff. So buffs and debuffs have the word buff in it. That's how you know it's not the actual item. And so in this case, this is a heal. This is basically taking painkillers, and it's the effect of having painkillers applied to you, so it largely heals most of your wounds. So that's just what I use for healing, but you could use other commands for that. So those are the 3 basic commands that you can use. Now I'm going to go into the advanced integration. So besides giving it a name, you also need to go into some of the other advanced parts. Permissions is the first one. I turn this one off. I give all people permission to use it, but you can choose. Do you want just followers, subscribers, VIPs, mods? What kind of people are allowed to use this in your chat? I turn mods off. Turn this off, or your mods can spam you no matter what your cooldowns say. If you have a cooldown for 10 minutes, it doesn't matter. Your mods can spam 400 bears at you. Turn this off. You always have the ability to make this happen multiple times. You'd want your mods maybe to not have that. I learned this the hard way. One of my mods decided to bypass all my cooldowns and spammed a whole bunch of stuff. And I had so many screamers. It was absolutely ridiculous. I also turn off unauthorized modifications. This means that your mods cannot change your commands. If you want your mods to be able to do that, you can set that to be active, and you can teach them how to use that. The next most important thing is a cooldown. If you would like it to be 120 seconds, put that in. If you want it to be nothing, you want them to always be able to do it, put that in. If 0 means they can always do it, 60 would be a minute. Right? If you want it to be every 10 minutes, you just have to do the math for that, okay? This is management of moderators. So this is cooldown management. So do you want your mods to be able to manage it or not? I have it disabled because that's a lot for my mods to manage. But if you want your mods to be able to do it, you can set that up. Indicator at the end of the message. So that would just be an indicator or not an indicator, I believe, in chat. And I don't have it set up, so I just have it off. Now, this is where you decide, do you want your chatters to be using bits to use this command or currency? If for you bears are really challenging and or this is 5 bears or something like that, you want this to maybe be bits. Right? That's really difficult. You want to reward people for giving bits. You can absolutely go in here and give a cost in bits. If this is something that you want everyone to be able to access, and you want them to use their virtual currency instead, then you would go in here and you would put whatever the cost you want it to be. And this kind of would depend on how much people are earning. So this makes sense for my channel, but whatever makes sense for your channel and how much currency they currently typically have available to them. And you would just set that up. You of course scale that to whatever difficulty you want it to be as well. If you want it to be hard for them to spawn that, make it a lot. Now this part is the list of commands on the external site. So this is where you have a link that you can share like as a command that people, like I have it exclamation spawns, and it's a list of spawns people can find easily while watching your channel. It opens up a tab for them just like this. This is my link. And they can look easily at what is the command name, what does it do. I put in the cooldown as well for people, and how much does it cost. And over here it tells me who can spawn it. Now all of my viewers can spawn everything, but if there was a certain one that was mods only or subs only, you could set that and they would be able to see that here. So you want this description to say what it does, the cooldown, and any other information you think that they should need to know in order to access that on the list. These parts, this is just how often it's been used. It's totally up to you if you want to use that or not. Now in sound configuration, this is if you would like a sound to also be played when someone uses this command. So if you want the sound to go off every time a bear happens or every time a dog happens, you can set that. You usually know what the animal or zombie is by the sound it makes, but maybe you have something funny in your chat that goes along with that spawn and a sound works for you. Go for it. Activation criteria. This is the one that's easier to use. Now, in the description of Wizebot, there were some number codes that go at the end of your code for each command. I find this to be easier to use than the codes, but it's up to you. Basically, this is if you are live and in your playlist. So like, will this command work whether you're live or not, right? So I have it set for both so I can test things. And then what I just do is I turn off my commands when I'm not playing the game. You can also set it to be 7 days to die. And that will make it so that unless your game says this exact game, these commands won't work. The other thing you could do is you could have a specific keyword in your title of your stream for it to work. So if you always are going to put in the word spawns, then put that there. If you're always going to use the word Wizebot, put that there. And then that will make it so that unless these things are true, the commands won't work. And what's nice about that is you won't have to refund money if people accidentally use it when you're not actually playing the game or not actually live. So those are how I prefer to use those activation criteria. If you are down in the advanced integration, you go to the games and you open up the documentation, it does show down here these. So after you have your command, you can put 0 or 1, 0 or 1, 0 or 1 with commas in between. And this is just to say if the command fails, it does not work. It doesn't send a message at all. Okay, so you put it 1 if you don't want the command to go through if it failed. Another 1 if you're not live, or 0 if you want it to work whether you're live or not. This one's a 1 if 7 days to die is not the game set on your channel, or 0 if you don't want it to matter. Again, I think it's easier to use the command section that has that already in there in the activation criteria. I think it's easier to use, and it has the added bonus of the title status requirement, and I like that one. So it's up to you how you want to set it up. If you wanted to, the way that those codes would look would be like, maybe I wanted that one, that one, that one, and you just put it in like that as the code, and that's it. But I don't prefer using those, so I get rid of them. Okay, the next thing you need to do is to check if your code, your spawn work in DM mode. So when you are on your server, set yourself up as an admin first of all so that DM mode works. And you're going to go into advanced integration before you do it. And you're going to want to set up something to happen when somebody follows, and something to happen when somebody subscribes for the first time, and something to happen when they resubscribe. Now, this will happen every time somebody follows and every time they subscribe. And I'm going to give you the caveat of, if somebody gives you 5 subs, this happens on a multiple of 5. If they gift you 10 subs, it happens on a multiple of 10. So for example, mine is spawning 5 crawlers when you follow and 10 party girls when you sub. That means that if somebody gifts me 5 subs, I get 50 party girls. If somebody gifts me 10 subs, I get 100 party girls, because I can do math. So be aware of what you are putting in there. If you put 20 things and somebody gives you 10 subs, it will multiply by 10. So whatever you do, be aware that that's going to happen in multiples for gifted subs. So if people follow, like you get a raid and you get like 12 follows, that could also happen. So be aware of that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the DM mode, and I'm going to show you how to test out your commands before stream even starts. You can of course go into your chat and you can type the commands, especially if you have it set to work when you're not live. But this is also a way to do it. So you probably want to test both ways to see if a command works at all. You would just copy the command that you have here for your followers or subscribers, or you could copy one of your commands that you want to test out, and you would just copy the part that is in parentheses, not the whole command, just the part that's in parentheses. Remember, this part just tells it to go to basically dump that information into DM mode. So copy that, and then I will show you when we get into the game how that looks. Okay, so we're in the game. The way that you set up DM mode, if you're already an admin on the server, all you have to do is hit the F1 key, and this will pop up, and you're going to type in DM, and debug menu will be now on. If you type DM again, it will turn off. So easy to do. Now what you're going to do is you're just going to paste that copied code for that spawn or whatever to test whether it works, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when it works. Look, this is what happens when anybody follows in my channel. There's more hiding in the grass. Okay, so that's how it looks. You can do the same thing for testing things to go into your inventory, see if bullets go into your inventory, if a buff happens. If it works in DM mode, it will work on the game through the integration. So take those commands that you've tested out, that you want to test out, see if they work, put it through here. If it does not work in here, it will not work on Wizebot. So play around with that. Now, if you're in debug mode, you can also press help, and these are some really handy lists that you might want to see. Maybe you want to see spawn airdrop, like that's how you would type in to spawn an airdrop. That's literally, you could use that command to be your follower if you want to. I used to use that actually. Spawn airdrop, it would spawn an airdrop every single time I got a follower, which was really cool. You could also do, if you have MM set up, you could also use some of the Mischief Maker commands if you'd like. Don't use give self. Use the code that I've given before. Give self will drop it on the ground, so just be aware of that. You can also look at different lists. So you can play around in debug mode and see what kinds of things you can do. And you can turn more codes in based on what's here. Basically, if you can make it happen in the game here using a code, you can put it in through Wizebot. Because basically all that is making that command go here. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you how to do, and this is completely optional, is making a safe zone. So this is my house in this particular game, and what happens is the zombies always spawn on the ground. They never spawn on a higher floor. So if you are in a tier 5 building and you're on the 3rd floor, they will spawn on the ground floor. So keep that in mind. They will find their way to you, but keep that in mind. So when building your house, you might not want to have boxes on the floor on the 1st floor. You might not want your forges to be on the 1st floor. You might not want all of these things that we need, and you would be super upset if they broke on the 1st floor. So what you could do to simplify this is just make sure they're on the 2nd floor. And then you just go down to fight them when things spawn. I was finding that I was building and fixing my house a lot, and so what I did was I put in a specific command to protect my home. And when you're in the debug mode, all you do is you stand in the center of your house, of your base, whatever you want to do, and then you're going to type in CCC radius 25 or whatever you want the radius to be, your code number or your name, base 1000 hostile free, and I will show you what that does. So you type that in, and now watch what happens when I spawn those followers in here. If they pop in at all, they will immediately disappear. This one didn't even pop in at all. Usually they do. Oh, there's a screamer outside, but look, they popped in and they immediately died. That will happen. Now, what also happens is if they get too close to your house, let me go kill this lady before she brings all sorts of zombies to my yard. Excuse me. And what will happen is if you have zombies, like this fellow, come on over, zombies, and you run too close to your house, they will disappear. So when your chat spawns things on you, make sure you don't run to your house because they will disappear. So if you have that command set, that's totally fine. Just keep that in mind that your chat did spend their gold or their currency to spawn them on you, or even potentially bits. So don't run into your safe zone when that's happening. Go out and fight them. Or you can choose not to have it set up at all, and then it won't be a problem. Just make sure your boxes are set up on the 2nd floor. I hope that video was helpful in setting up the Wizebot integration. If so, please give it a like, and if you would like, you can also check me out on Twitch when I go live at twitch.tv/KlunaSpitfire, and have fun spawning.